Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us again for another Practical Pet Chat. I have a feeling this one's going to be pretty lively, as Lorin and I have some pretty strong feelings about enrichment toys. And Lorin, I know you and I, we just probably had a 20-minute discourse back and forth arguing about a few things. Should have been rolling. We weren't. But we are truly passionate about this. Enrichment toys so important for so many reasons for our pets. Doesn't matter, dog, cat, bird, pig, etc. You've got to have really good enrichment toys for a lot of reasons, physically, mentally. Um, let's just start with, why are they so important?
Well, let's talk about what constitutes an enrichment toy. An enrichment toy is going to be something that requires attention, thinking, time, focus by the animal. So, what they do is stimulate a lot of things for the dogs. They're very interactive. They stimulate the dog's problem solving, their ability to get to the reward at the end. And you have to, along with that, you have to match the level of the enrichment toy to the dog. So if it's a puppy, right, you don't want to give it something super complex because that can create frustration. And the dog will lose focus and wander away because they can't get where they need to be. So something a little less complex that they can work up to something more. Dogs that are working dogs, dogs that are high focus, a Malinois, for example, or a cattle dog. These kinds of dogs are going to get so bored so fast with the average enrichment toy. You really can't work around the fact that you need to be involved physically with those kinds of dogs. They need really a lot of activity. But enrichment toys are things like licky mats, snuffle mats, um, puzzles that a dog has to solve by moving things around to get to the treat. So let's start right off the bat with the one we were arguing about just a few minutes ago, which is a snuffle mat. Rob hates snuffle mats. I love snuffle mats. I have little dogs, and snuffle mats really, I can put a snuffle mat out. I can I can hide the treats of my choosing, which is really appealing to me because I like high reward, meat-based, dehydrated or freeze-dried treats that I can put in there. You can alter the size, you can alter the difficulty in finding them. So I really like them. I have a lot of success with them. Rob hates them, but he has a good reason for hating them. And, I'll let him tell you about why he hates them.
So here's the funny thing. I use my snuffle mat. I have no problem with using the snuffle mat if you remember to clean it. And I can't tell you how many people I have encountered where I'll be like, oh, this is really cool. And I go to move it, and treats and kibble and other things come out. And I'm like, ah, okay.
That have been
Um,
oxidized, that are
yeah. Oh,
rancid.
yeah. And you're attracting other critters to,
Ooh.
all that as well. I just, so there, listen, all of these enrichment things, I love enrichment. So I do that with Belle every single day. Um, it's really important, as you said. I mean, if I don't, she's going to let me know. And for those of you who have what you think are behavioral issues, that's your first start to me, is what are you doing to provide any kind of mental stimulation? These are intelligent beings and creatures. Um, but it's not enough just to put it out there and be like, oh, hey, I did that. It's, hey, I did that. And that, I like you said this earlier, you're not going to be able to avoid being a part of it. I don't care if it's a big dog or a small dog. There are things that you can't just throw it out there and just leave it
Yeah.
and expect that they're going to go over to the sink or they're going to, go to the wash basin and clean it up afterwards. I mean, there are just some basic things here. And so the snuffle mat gets me because it's one of those things where I've just seen people put it down, leave it, assume that the dog got to all of it, and oh, it's clean now. Because it's not to think of the things that most people are putting in there. That's my other part of the problem. I love that you said the freeze dried, the dehydrated. Okay, a little bit less of a mess, but those that use it to put the kibble, and by the way, there's nothing wrong with that if that's how you're, doing it. I'd rather see that than you just put it in a bowl. Let them search for it, let them hunt, all that. But then you got to clean it. And that's the step that I see missed too often. And that just creates bigger problems than the solutions it's providing. And
Well,
that's why I
let's
go
be
there.
real. A lot of people's clean it is going to be shake it out. That's the
Oh,
max they're going to do. They'll shake it out and they'll figure that that's clean. But all of the stuff that came off of those food products have
yeah.
now rubbed off onto that fabric. And,
Well, and
I
the
mean,
dog's slobber, their nose,
yeah.
all the rest of it. And now that's in there. So if you don't like Cheeto toes, you're probably not going to like what's, growing in that down the road if you never really effectively clean it. So, you
So
know,
Rob is really hypersensitive about this. I will confess that I might have used the Snuffle Mac 2 times in a row before I washed
no,
it.
yes,
But
I am
I
not
said
using the
I,
snuffle.
I said something about, I love Snuffle Macs. I hate them. And I was like, wow, that's pretty strong. And he goes, do you wash yours? And I'm like, yes. He's like,
And,
okay, you're
and
forgiven.
that,
But he,
right. And I said, okay, then. But it's the same thing. Like I have probably 10 different licky mats. I've got 10 different bowls. So there's always a different bowl that Belle is eating from. One, because she's a Hoover and she'll eat quick. And I want her to have to maneuver through the bowl to be able to get her food, right? I want to slow her down, make sure she's digesting properly. But the licky mats, all the different textures, like I know which ones are her favorites. And she may not be able to tell all the different colors of the mats because dogs only see certain colors, people. So the color is really
Mhm.
for you more often than not. But man, she's got a couple of those where she sees the design and she's just like, you love me, don't you, Dad? And I'm like, yeah. And I love it's such a great way, especially, on days where I want her to be occupied for 15, 20 minutes in the sun, getting that natural boost, all the rest of that. But I will put different mats in different places because I know how excited she gets about those mats. I'm not going to put a licky mat in the grass area where other little tiny critters are going to work their way there pretty quickly, unless it's one that I know she's on and she just goes to town on. And even after that, I'm cleaning it properly. And let's be honest, those things are not the easiest thing to clean.
No, you need
They
a
all
brush.
their
You got to get a
yeah,
brush.
yeah, and you got to get a brush. You've got to really get in there. So that's where when we talk about enrichment toys, I love things like that. What I don't love is sometimes it breeds this false sense of, well, all I need to do is just throw it out there and the pet is going to, use it to the point where it's clean. That just is not going to work. And so, yeah, the stuff from that is just one of those where I can think I'm having flashbacks to being in a couple people's homes and they're so proud to show me their snuffle mat. And I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. And things like fall out. I'm like, oh my God, ugh, you know, no thanks.
That's hilarious.
Not going
Um,
there.
I
Yeah.
I also like, the toys that have things that, they have openings that you can put treats and things in. The
Love it.
problem with those for me is that once the dog has used that a few times, your average smart dog is
Yeah.
like they can work that toy like that, man. They get everything out of it. It hasn't even been 5 minutes, and they're looking
Yeah.
at you like, more? What do you got next? So do things like take flavorful things and freeze them. inside.
Yeah,
So you can
I was
put
gonna
little
say.
bits of treats, you can put bone broth, you can take goat's milk, you can take pumpkin, not pie filling, regular pumpkin, organic pumpkin. You can take any combination of those things, put treats in there, coconut water, just plain coconut water would be great. And freeze the treats in there. I like things like bone broth and things because it's more sensory attractive
Yep.
until they get to the actual treat and go, I had no idea that that was going to be in there. And they work on it a long time. Couple things to know about that. If you're not giving it outside, here's why you might not want to give it outside because the dog may take it somewhere that you like in the grass, which Rob doesn't like. So that may be an issue. But in the house, like I have small dogs, they have a designated, I put a sheet down because it's easier to wash a sheet than it is a whole blanket. So I put a sheet down. They're not allowed to leave the sheet if they want to continue chewing on whatever it is that they're messing with. So whether that's a raw bone or, any type of a long-term chew thing or something that they're working on, like a frozen gimme is what we call it, then they've got to be on something that I can easily clean up, which Rob will be thrilled at because I take that sheet when they're done, I throw it right in the wash. But then you have to take the toy and you really have to clean it up. You can't just rinse it. You have to really wash it out.
Especially those,
Yes,
especially those,
because they're
because
rubber.
yeah, and so I've got I'm gonna get a lot of emails that Lauren will have to read. Um, we've got three freezers because I have a entire row of frozen enrichment toys for Bella, packed with those types of things. And to your point, I love all the different suggestions you have there, because you can get really creative. And especially as you were mentioning, even with coconut water, just some blueberries in there, just some one
Oh,
little different.
minnows, minnows.
Yeah, I mean, just any. And but here's why Rob doesn't like it going in the grass without Rob being around. We have the squirrel circus. We have a lot of other critters where we live. We're on an acre, and so long story short, it's just one of those. The bat signal goes out, and if Bell walks away, it's like you might as well just run the dinner bell for 50 different critters. And I don't want that. I don't mind. I love that she'll go out there and she'll cradle those things. And it's funny. And you just see her. What I love about that, especially during the summer too, is just an extra way to get some hydration in them, and keep them fresh, keep them cool. There have been times where I see her just rest her head on it, and I'm like, okay, makeshift, cooling pad. So really good for your pets. But here's the one thing that drives me nuts. I have a beautiful being here right next to me, and she's taking notes as we're doing this. It's so perfect.
She's
But she
moving
has
to
a
my house.
yeah, she is. She's like, I'm going to Lawrence. But she has a habit too. She's smart. She's like a little squirrel. She's learned from the squirrel circus. She'll take stuff and then go bury it in different places. And the last thing I want is one of these rubber filled, concoctions buried someplace, and I can't find it. So I like to keep her, where I can see and what's going on. But I mean, she knows she gets a ton of leeway. And the other thing too, we have a pool. So better not end up in the pool is my rule to her. I say
Oh
that all the
gosh.
time because one of her ways of telling me she's frustrated that it's been completely devoured or gone as far as she's going and can I please have another one is to throw it into the pool, and then dad has to get into the pool, fish it out, clean up what has dripped out now. So yeah, I don't have cleaning issues. I have a live life, my
Sure.
life thing. um, but I will say there are things just because I don't want to add to an already chaotic space with chaotic things. But I love it even for the bearded dragon. We may and our tortoises, the salads and the enrichment stuff that we do so that they can go and hunt. I love that. And let's talk about the the feline side of things for a while here. Um, One of my favorite things ever, a very good vet friend of mine created something where she, it was called No Bowl and it was beautiful. It was amazing. because it really fed into the hunting nature of these cats. So it wasn't just like slap the ball away. I don't like that. It was like, ooh, I'm going to go find this. And they'd always eat everything because they had to go and find it. And when they hunt for something, they're going to eat it. It's like, hey, I'm proud of this. I got this and this is mine. And you just see them grab. It's so cool as well. But anyway, that enrichment side of things is so positive. The only time I don't like it is when it can be a negative, and it's kind of, we're not talking about the DIY things today. We'll get to that at some point, but I'll just say, I see a lot of neat, fun things out there. Some things I've tried, other things I've tried and gone, oh, heck no, that will never be something that I do again. And I would not advocate because it's just a safety factor. So just be good as you're looking at things. And it's the same. I love that you brought out too the simplicity of it. Like there are some things that I've seen created, and there are some great creators out there. Shout out to you, Nina, um, because they they have a complexity and then a second layer of complexity, right? So once they've got the basics figured out, now I can really get things going. Um, Belle loves that stuff. Sugar, Zoe, they love that. Most of the dogs I've encountered. And it doesn't have to always be food and treat related as well. And that's the other part of it that I like. You can sit there and engage. We've seen the folks with have their dogs talk with the buttons. I have buttons with Belle. I had buttons with Sugar and Zoe. And Sugar loved it. Sugar was super smart. She you mix, she was like, yeah, let's lay out the 40 of them. Zoe, the lab, she was like, yeah, I just which one gets me the hugs and the snuggles? Okay. And just stomping on that one constantly.
I'm surprised the lab didn't just say food, food,
Yeah, exactly.
food.
What's funny? She was not I used to say like there's something more to you because food is not your main,
Wow.
there. Yeah. Um, and that's the funny thing. That's just being able to engage those different things. I mean, I've got the toys that, have the rubber padded they look like a bone and then you step on them to engage the core. I've got the platforms. I've got so many different things. I've got a little obstacle course for Belle. Half the time I think I do it as good as she does, but she doesn't reward me the same way I do when I get through it. But in the end, even when it doesn't work, I can't say how many times I throw a ball and she looks at me like, I'm not getting that. But I'll go get it and she'll run with me. And it's just the fact that we're doing something together. That's the reality of what we're talking about here. There are plenty of solo opportunities, but there are also plenty of great, you're involved with it opportunities. They need this enrichment. They need this playtime to keep them not just mentally healthy, but physically healthy. And also, what a great way to bond. And that's one of the things that I see quite often. Folks will be, oh, they don't pay attention. Are you giving a reason for them to pay attention to you? If you play games with them, if you do different tasks and activities, you will see a deeper connection. And so I love any kind of enrichment that really reinforces that in a healthy way. Um, and it should always be in a healthy way. I will say there are some things out there that drive me nuts. I know they drive you nuts. It was the continuing
Yes.
our argument the
There's a
earlier.
couple of things that I think need cautionary statements with. So there's a group of puzzles that are out there that the dog has to take the puzzle piece out to get to the reward. I hate those. I like the ones where they slide,
Yeah,
but to have to take something out, I immediately, my, worst case scenario head goes to swallowing,
yeah,
chewing on something, potential surgeries, all of those kinds of things. So I don't like those. And the problem is that if the dog doesn't do that the first two or three times, the pet owner oftentimes gets lulled into a sense of complacency of, well, they didn't do it, so it's not going to be a problem. until they're frustrated or they're bored or they're acting out or something else goes on in their head and they do chew on it and they do swallow it.
It's sitting there without a treat in it because it was easier not to put it away.
Right,
And the dog is going, oh, when it's down and available, there should be a treat in there.
right.
And they're like, oh, I guess the treat is this little thing I take off and crunchy and boom. Yeah. So no, I agree with you. That's my cleaning thing, right? Clean your
Yeah.
plate.
Well, and the other thing too is so people love, and I've talked to several vets about this too, because I was like, is this my issue with this or is this legitimate? People love to buy lasers for cats because in some way they think while they're sitting on their butt from the couch, pointing a laser around the room that they're being interactive. And the cat is chasing the laser. So I was really happy when several vets, I was at a American Holistic Veterinary Medical Association conference, and I was talking over lunch with a few vets that had primary focuses on cats, and they hate lasers because they attribute that to anxiety, stress, obsessive compulsive behavior, because the cat never catches it, right? It's a
Right.
dot. So they never actually catch anything for all their trouble. So imagine the frustration when you're a hunter by nature,
Yeah.
and your whole thing is to catch it. So I really dislike those. I know they're funny for the human. I know that the cat gets all excited and jazzed up. I don't like them. I didn't carry them in my store. I don't recommend them. I really am against them for cats.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. To me, um, the ultimate frustration, and especially with cats, they're already frustrated with the limited, environment that they're often in.
Right.
And I just sit there and I'm like, yeah, how would you feel if I did that? Hunt this, run into the wall, hunt that, run up the wall, hunt that.
Hmm.
You never get to an achievement level that you need to feel that satisfaction, which then releases different hormones, right? And so all I'm doing is elevating the frustration and the craziness. And honestly, yeah, I'm not a fan of it either. I'll just say if that's your thing, cool. Keep it
No, it's
not
not
on
cool.
not when I'm not around, because not when I'm around. Um, it's one of the few times I will actually say something, because
Yeah.
most of the time like I just remove myself from the environment. But that's one where I will say, you know what, that's I don't know, I don't find that cool. It's not engaging. If you think you're doing something positive, um, let me tell you, 25 different reasons why you're not. The
Hmm.
other thing about it too is, when you don't have to have anything to do these things. You can take your normal things, every morning. When I get up, so I have to walk the yard because, again, I got, everything from coyotes and bobcats and all the rest of that stuff that can make their way into the yard. So I always go out before Belle goes out, and I'll take some of her treats and I'll put them in different places around the yard, even in the grass, everybody, just so Lauren doesn't paint me as a
Oh
grass.
my God.
Yes. Um,
The squirrel
and
circus
so
is going to beat her to
the
him.
squirrel, I'll tell you what, the squirrel circus is the bane of my existence. But from the standpoint of, so Belle is like a shot out of the, cannon type thing, because she's like, I'm gonna go to the bathroom and then I'm going through the whole yard. And she loves it. I never put them in the same places because it's just like, and that'll occupy her for, a good hour. And it's so funny because, she'll come back and she'll be like, I got everything. And it's like every day is an Easter egg hunt for her. And so I
Yes.
tease her all the time. I'm just like, dude, how was the Easter egg hunt? Did the Easter bunny do good? And my kids think it's ridiculous.
Well, I
And
want
maybe
to
it
point
is.
out that at the beginning of it, when you said it, people, when you're looking at doing this, he walked his yard first. And the
Oh,
reason
absolutely. Yeah.
that's hypercritically important is because you want to be sure that they're not picking up something they come across that either they shouldn't eat, fell off a tree, somebody threw over the fence, something that died,
Yeah.
anything like that. You want to be sure that you do a perimeter and full yard walk before you participate in anything like that, and then you can put them out.
And by the way, it's such a great point that you call that out because we do have a number of fruit trees and we have some
Hmm.
very unique kinds of fruits. I don't want to take the chance Bill doesn't know, eat this one, don't eat that one. We have a catch system to, grab that stuff, but every once in a while, squirrel has gotten to the tree, and boom, is, dropped it along the way, probably because they hear me coming outside in the morning. But yeah, so we're going through, we're picking that up. Uh, but from the standpoint of, I'm not trying to sanitize the environment so anybody thinks, you know, I forget what that's called, but obsessive, I don't know, obsessive compulsive. That's what it is.
OCD.
Yeah, I'm not OCD on that stuff. There's plenty of times, Belle is one of those dogs as well that I'll be like, don't do it, don't do it. And she'll jump in the pool and I'll be like, you did that just to upset me. Um, and she just thinks it's fun. She's like, come on, come play. We've had friends over at summertime, all the rest of that. And so, the fencing is not there constantly, but I'm constantly vigilant. If she's out there, I'm doing that. But that's another one of those engagement, right? Okay, I can engage. Um, I can do different things, but awareness, awareness, awareness. Be aware of the environment, pet proof what you're doing. Enrichment is great as long as it's done in a safe manner and with awareness. And I like what you said about your dogs don't leave a specific area. That's something I'll do too with different bones with Belle. There's a space, and she knows that. And so, if she leaves that space, she knows I'm picking that up, I'm taking it back in, and she's done. And that's cool. She doesn't have to, spend hours and hours. You got out of it what you wanted. And I think that's where a lot of pet parents kind of fall off, if you will, in the vigilance. It's like, oh, they got up, they left, they're bored of it, they're not going to come back to it, etc. That's not how it happens. Remember, a lot of our dogs are squirrel, like me, and they're distracted for a minute, they leave, they go, and then they come back, and it's like, wait, what was I doing? How was I doing it? So keep that in mind as well. But I will say, we covered a lot. Any last thoughts? I know we're going to talk about more with enrichment toys and all that. Same thing with birds. I will say a lot of my bird friends, I am in awe of the things that they will create and do to entertain and enrich the bird's environment. And so I think that's another thing that I have just learned over the years. It doesn't take a lot of effort, a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of resources, and a lot of space to give your pet something that really amps them up in a positive way. I mean, how many times have you seen this with a cat? It's like they all, hey, I bought this cat toy, and the cat's playing in the box that the toy arrived in.
Yet the toilet paper roll is
Right.
incredibly popular.
Exactly.
It's
So many,
crazy.
yeah. Oh my God, my daughter's hamsters. That was the whole thing. Dad, don't get rid of the toilet paper rolls and
Well, it's
the
all about stimulation, right? I mean,
yeah,
imagine, if you will, you don't have you as a human, have no social media. You have no ability to contact anybody you know. You only have the immediate people around you. You have no TV. You have
yeah,
no music. You have nothing. So, oh my gosh, what kind of a life would that be? You're their everything. So you need to provide constant stimulation, constant engagement, you know, along with love and cuddles and that kind of thing. They need to be stimulated. They need to be challenged. They need to be excited. And, think about how you do that. Think about the animal's view of that and the effect it has on the animal. That's
yeah.
all
I
I
love
got.
that. Yeah, that's all you got. Just a little bit. Just a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yep.
Um, that and I'm pretty sure now every Snufflemat company will be sending us their Snufflemat. Prove me
Send them
wrong.
to me. I love them. I may not watch them after the first time, but the next day when I use it the second time, I
Oh,
will.
man. Lauren, I am, yeah, I will,
Dude, I'm only going to remind you that dogs lick their butts. And that's all I'll say about that.
what that is true. That is true. All right. On that happy note, um, if you want to send us some of your favorite enrichment ideas, please do so. Practicalpetchat@gmail.com. Lauren will read all of those emails, share the best ones with me.
You
Um,
can also join the Facebook group, Practical Pet Feeding and Wellness.
yes,
Just jump
do.
in there, and there's a lot of amazing content in there. It's a group that's been around for, oh my gosh, many years. So there's
Yeah,
a lot of information
lots
in
of
there.
great, and a lot of great um, insights that happen on a wide cross section of things as well. So can't advocate for that enough. Visit our website. You'll find links to so many different great things. But again, thank you. We know you've got a lot going on in your life. We appreciate you just spending a little bit of time with us weekly, but make sure you're sharing this with your friends as well. We should not be a secret. Maybe Snufflemat should be a secret, but
No,
not us. Definitely, we'd ask share us with one person this week. We really want to keep doing this for all of you. We enjoy it. We have fun, as you can see. Um, Thanks again for joining us here at Practical Pet Chat.
thanks, guys.
The content of this podcast is for informational purposes only. It is not intended as, nor should it be construed as, professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment for your pets. Always seek the advice of a qualified veterinarian with any questions you may have regarding your pet's health or medical condition. Never disregard professional veterinary advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard on this podcast. The hosts and the guests of this podcast are not liable for any actions taken based on the information shared during these episodes. Any reliance on the information provided is solely at your own risk. Copyright 2025 Practical Pet Chat, all rights reserved. Unauthorized duplication, distribution, or reproduction of any content from this podcast, including but not limited to audio, scripts, and show notes, is prohibited without prior written consent. The opinions and views expressed by the host and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of Practical Pet Chat.